All right, everybody. Well, happy Super Bowl Sunday. This obviously is an unscheduled. Uh, Let me get my light on here so you can see me. This is an unscheduled live, but I was just thinking last night. I kind of feel like doing it live. I kind of want to talk about the Super Bowl, and then I had an idea of what would be like a Super Bowl like cruise. Oh, I just hold on one second here. There, got you back. Tim is here from Fort Payne, Alabama. What are you doing down in Fort Payne, Tim? I'm curious. Instead of Ocala, Florida. And we got Sadie here by my side. Now, this might end up being a short show, and right now I know, like I say, with it being unscheduled. Well, we got Nick jumping in here. What's going on, Nick? Good to see you. And as I was just mentioning, Sadie here, unscheduled live for her, so we got to get her back on. Hey, and Will G, what's going on, Will? If you guys could let me know, I got a new mic, okay? Because last week the mic was acting up on me. So this is mic number 3. So I'm hoping you guys are hearing it okay and there's no skipping or anything like that. So if the mic sounds good, let me know in the comments. I appreciate it. All right, Julie, I appreciate that. And so anyway, first off, I want to get some thoughts. I know I've kind of asked this in the last couple lives, but uh, I want to know who you think or who are you rooting for today, and if and who you actually think is going to win. Because who you're rooting for might not be who actually wins. I'll tell you first off, I'm rooting for the Eagles mainly because I'm a Raiders fan, and it's kind of like the Chiefs and the Raiders are kind of like the Bears and the Packers, or the Giants and the Cowboys, or the Eagles and the Cowboys, or something like that. It's just a rivalry, and you just learn early not to like the other team, because I know we have a lot of Chiefs fans out there. So I apologize, but it's just a rule here. As a Raider fan, you can't really cheer for the Chiefs. So, yeah, sorry about that. So, who I see Tim is rooting for the Eagles as well. All right, go Eagles, fly Eagles, fly. Julie's also Eagles. Very cool. Um, and I do want to see a good game. The other thing I was going to ask, and I got my coffee today, so take a sip of that, and that tastes good. Um, what are you all doing? Do you have any Super Bowl traditions? Do you throw a Super Bowl party? Do you not even care? I've talked to a couple people. I know our cruise duck kind of creators, the one that started that whole fad last week. I talked to them, and they're just not big football fans. Michael says we're rooting for good commercials. I remember getting that comment yesterday. Nick says, I don't have a dog in the fight, honestly. I guess if I had to pull for one of them, it would be the team that has the most former Auburn Tiger players. Okay, yeah, that's a reason to root for somebody. And Michael, as I just mentioned, is rooting for good commercials. And that is true, though. I mean, the Super Bowl, that is one fun thing. And I think that's why, some people only watch one time a year is they just kind of enjoy that event and the Super Bowl halftime show. Are there any Rihanna fans out there? Obviously her being the halftime act. I didn't know if there was any Rihanna fans. All right. Well, we have a small group, which is fine. It's enough for a discussion point, and maybe the group will grow a little bit as we get into it here. Uh, Julianne says Super Bowl pools, and you know what, Julie, I'm with you on that one, especially today. I have a friend of mine. We both bought a couple squares. It's one of those deals. And if anybody doesn't know how the squares work, basically, they put 100 squares on the board, and one half of the board is for the last number of the AFC, and the other half is for the NFC. So, for example, if the Chiefs at the end of the first quarter are winning 14-10, then it would be AFC 4 and NFC 0. So then you'd go through the 100 squares and you would find where the AFC is 4 and the NFC is 0. And whoever has that square wins the money. And then, they do all the other quarters. And sometimes they'll do different things like, if a square is touching the winning square, you get a little bit of money and that type of deal. But it's fun. I mean, you look at your numbers and you get your numbers already and say, okay, well, we got a chance this quarter. If they just score a field goal and the other team doesn't score or something like that, then we'll win the money. So it can be fun. Yeah, Will, I know, is a Raider fan as well. So see, he doesn't want Kansas City to win either. And Nick says, usually enjoy the commercials and the halftime show. Yeah, it's always fun to watch. So yeah, with the it actually is $100 square. So if you do hit it, the one that my friend and I both, and we're sharing our square. So if either of us wins, we'll split the money, and then it allows two people for paying that $100 square. They feed you, and then like I say, you have a chance to win some big money as well. So that's what we're got going on. Don't have to cook or anything like that. Just to get to hang out at the bar and have a good time. So beyond the football, what would be the Super Bowl cruise? And I had some thoughts on this. I was getting a shower this morning, and I said, first off, let's talk about itinerary, and let's limit it to 14 days. Okay, any cruise up to 14 days. And then it would be pick where the cruise is going. So if you think the Super Bowl of cruises would be a Mediterranean cruise, put that in the comments. If you think cruising Alaska and hitting all the different ports and different things to do in Alaska and seeing everything there, as Sadie's slobbering all over my fingers. Oh boy. If you think, it's the Caribbean, different ports in the Caribbean. If you think it's the Panama Canal trip, the Hawaiian Islands, cruising the Hawaiian Islands, what would be the Super Bowl cruise for you when it comes to itinerary? Super Bowl cruise for you when it comes to itinerary? And throw that in the comments. You gotta have a choice. I will say mine is, it's tough. It's really tough. Now I've had the privilege of going to a lot of these places. Ooh, Australia. Okay, well, and that's one that I haven't done is Australia. Yeah, and if there's anything I didn't mention there, of course. But a cruise you could do in 14 days. So 14 days you could do a transatlantic cruise. Now that's something I haven't done. So I don't have experience. It's something I want to do, but I'm not going to say it. I've done a Mediterranean cruise with Anita, and we've also done Alaska. The Hawaiian Islands, we've done that as well. So I've got some very tough choices. Of those three, probably got to go with the Mediterranean cruise. Slightly over Alaska, which was our honeymoon cruise. And I will say this about Alaska: some of the most memorable things I ever have seen for cruising and vacationing period, I saw in Alaska. But the Mediterranean with the deep history, and I mean, we went to Florence, we went to Sicily, we started out in Athens, we finished in Barcelona, we went to Malta, saw this place called the Blue Grotto, had the best seafood I ever ate in my life at this restaurant. I still remember the name of it. It was Kingfisher. And the Hawaiian Islands, we've done that too. But I think I'll go with Mediterranean, a little bit over Alaska. So Will says Australia. Nick is going 14 to 16 day cruise to Hawaiian Islands would definitely be my Super Bowl cruise. Well, and you can't go wrong. It's Hawaii, right? So I think Hawaii for our little group would be the winner. All right. Now, how about food? And we'll just say, for the sake of it being a Super Bowl cruise, you can pick whatever food you want. Price is not an option. I mean, the price isn't a concern. Okay. So if the Super Bowl of cruising has you at the steakhouse 3 nights a week, um, 2 nights a week you're doing sushi. What's up, Z? What would the Super Bowl of food be like? What would include a lot of on a cruise? Crab legs. Is that something you're into? Lobster. Is that something you're into? Any particular menu items? Like I say, the steakhouse. I know it would definitely include the steakhouse for multiple meals for me. Um, I obviously wouldn't want to eat steak every single night, but some good Italian, like a cucina with some really good pasta, maybe included. Will says teppanyaki. That's good. I like that because you can mix in some veggies there, so it's not just meat all the time. That's why I said I wouldn't necessarily want to do the steakhouse every night. Uh, yeah, so I think I'd mix in some pasta. We'd get some sushi in there. Um, Definitely, like I said, the steakhouse, maybe a chef's table. So it's, yeah, okay. Any other thoughts there? I mean, I like that teppanyaki thought. Have another sip of my coffee. By the way, I know it's morning, but if anybody did want to do super chat, and this is why Sadie's up here hounding me, I did bring some treats for Sadie, and I also have the list of, and we actually just finished the last list. We are actually on one number into our new list, and let me see. That is Tex. Tex has number one of 100. I'm going to just get a new sheet of paper here, but he is one. And yeah, I think it was Jeremy Kraft that won the last shirt, and I still need to get in contact with him. And I've tried to. I know somebody who knows him, though, so I asked them to contact him for me and tell him to get in contact so I can send him a shirt. Michael says steakhouse, Italian, Japanese steakhouse, and seafood rotating. I like that thought. And Nick says he agrees with Michael. All right, now, how about entertainment? Now, this one is limited in some scope for me, because I'm primarily a Carnival cruiser. I have cruised other lines, but it's been a while, and I hear the entertainment sometimes on Royal can be like the best. Now, I will say this: I've been on the Mardi Gras, and I know that the celebration has the same basic layout, and I've heard the shows are phenomenal. So if you could give me, like, the Mardi Gras, for example, has Love in Vegas. They have Voodoo Moon. They have, what's the other one? We Are One. And then they still have Celestial Strings. That's 4 shows right there. And there we go. We got Tim with the first super chat. Let me write your name down there, Tim. So you are 2 through 11, Tim. You are 2 through 11. And I thank you. High five for Tim. Give him another one. This is the first one. And leave me alone for 5 minutes. Thank you for that, Tim. Appreciate it, sir. And yeah, you get her from, because honestly, you all can't see from there, but we got to trim her nails for one, but she has these claws and she just she just kind of scrapes at my arm. So you might notice me leaning like this sometimes because she's just scraping away. And I got these little tiny cheese squares and little pieces of salami I use to keep her here and satisfied. But yeah, she gets me pretty good sometimes. So yeah, the food sounds great. One thing I'll say, just popped in my head. It's a simple thing, and you can get this every day. Uh, but Lawrence on the Carnival Breeze, is doing a Q&A, and I mentioned this before, but somebody had asked him, like, what's your favorite thing to eat on the ship? And he said, well, when I get the opportunity, I like to go up to the cantina and get tacos. And he's like, the key is when you're getting these tacos, make sure you load up, put everything on there, put the cilantro, the sour cream, the salsas, the cheese, basically anything up there that you think would go on a taco. And they do have a big toppings bar. And I'll tell you what, I followed that advice. It was one of the last days or the last day. And I had the best lunch. And I had been on the ship for about, 8 or 9 days, I think it was. And that had been the best lunch that I ate. It was like one of the last ones. And I mean, the tacos, like I said, I did it just like, and it's not like I've never had tacos there. And here in the city, we have some great places for tacos or whatever. But for some reason, those tacos were just amazing. So that will close out my food comment. So getting back to the shows, Tim says, I'm open to the shows. But what are some shows that you would say, like, okay, if I'm going on my Super Bowl cruise, like I get to have this cruise, everything just how I want it. Those shows that I just mentioned right there, those are the shows that I know of. Okay, those are the shows that I know. I'm like, I would enjoy those shows. So that's 4 shows. Are there any other shows from any other lines that you've seen or heard about that you would want to see? Like, for example, on the Celebration, they have that circus show. And I definitely want to check that out. And I know they have a couple other new shows as well. But that circus one keeps getting talked about quite a bit. So who's been on the Celebration in here? Anybody? Curious. But what are some of your favorite shows? My favorite show of all time is Celestial Strings on Carnival. It's on the Carnival Horizon, and now it's on the Mardi Gras as well. It's on the Panorama, I believe. So I'll be getting a chance to see that again because I'll be going on the Horizon April 1st. So I've seen Celestial Strings probably 6, 7 times, maybe more. I don't know. And I never fail to see it. I will not get on a ship that has Celestial Strings and fail to see it. I just enjoy the show that much. And some people are like, well, how can you enjoy it if you see it that many times? It's that good, in my opinion. And Sadie is enjoying that treat more than I'd hope. I hope this mic is doing its job and just collecting the sound in this general area because she is just smacking away on that treat at my feet here. So nobody else, no other comments on shows. Nobody really has. I mean, Tim says he's open to shows, but nobody has any shows that they're really fond of or anything. Kind of surprised by that one. All right. What about things to do? Things to do on the ship. What does your ship have to include? I'm obviously the Mardi Gras and the Celebration. Their big thing is the roller coaster, and I have been on that roller coaster once, but I mean that isn't the reason that I would book the ship, or that I wouldn't necessarily call that my Super Bowl cruise. There's some ships, I think it's Norwegian, right, that has go-karts on top of the ship. Will says comedy shows. Okay, you know what? And if it was good comedy, Will, I agree with you 100%. Seeing comedy live, I think, helps the comedian be a little funnier. Just last night, we were watching Jacoy, I think his name is, if any of you are familiar with him on Netflix. And he was pretty funny. And but sometimes even on Netflix, you would think these specials would all be funny or better than the quality you might get at a punchline or comedy. But honestly, that's the one thing I guess that keeps me out of the punchline or comedy from time to time is the uncertainty of if the comedian's going to be any good or not. And I don't like wasting an hour if they're really not that funny. And unfortunately, a few of the ones I've gone to recently haven't been that funny. And I'm not one of these people that like to walk out in the middle of the show. Like any show I go to, I want to have a semi good, decent seat. So, for example, we were just talking about the shows on the Mardi Gras. I'm one of those people that will get a table early, and here she going scratching my arm again. Get a table early, and I'll sit there and just have a drink for 45 minutes to an hour. And yeah, just we'll just sit and talk, whatever. But we make sure that we have that good seat rather than arriving in the last 10 minutes and trying to get a seat. It becomes difficult. So let's see what you're seeing here, Julie. You're going on your second Carnival cruise next Sunday on the Glory. So not a lot of experience yet. Well, I went on the Glory last year. And is it still out of New Orleans, or is the Glory out of a different port now? I'm sure you'll be able to answer that, Julie. It was out of New Orleans when I went on it last year and had a lot of fun on the Glory. Now, the Valor has the Red Frog Pub, and the Glory, unless they've had a dry dock in between that I don't know about, did not have the Red Frog Pub. That makes a difference. But they do have the Skybox Sports Bar, and it's not just about the bars. I know they have the steakhouse. I think they have Cucina, but it's a cruise. I mean, right? I mean, you're going to be out there in the middle of the ocean. It's just that's why I say. I mean, when you get right down to it, I mean, there are some ships that have certain amenities that I look forward to, but at the end of the day, it's just nice. Okay, New Orleans. And one of the things that's one of my favorite ports, Julie, because of the food. I always go a day early to any of the cruises that I go on, just in case there's something, that happens that goes wrong, whatever. Uh, and yeah, I mean, New Orleans, the grilled oysters, I'm a big fan of. The po' boy sandwiches, I'm a big fan of. You give me one of those, maybe some gumbo or jambalaya, So yeah, I'm a big fan of the Southern Cajun cuisine, I guess you could say. So, oh, and the I always say this wrong. Beignets. I was calling them beignets or something, and some people said you're going to get people mad at you for saying it that way. So beignets. Now I don't notice a lot of difference. That's one thing. I don't know how many of you had the beignets in New Orleans, but I've had them at a few different places. Honestly, I mean, the famous one, I forget the name off the top of my head. If you said it, if somebody said it here, it'd be like, yep, that's it. There's a famous beignet place right down there in the downtown area. And there's another place that's very popular as well. And you'll go around and all the tourists and everything are lined out the door to try to get these beignets. But there's other places that have them. And honestly, I've had them both places. And honestly, it doesn't taste any different. I mean, it's like a puffed, it's kind of like a donut with powdered sugar on it. So like how many different ways? I mean, obviously the recipes can vary slightly, but I don't know how it could be that much difference in taste. It would be worth waiting in line that long. Cafe Du Monde. That's it, Will. Yep, you got it. I knew. Yep. All right. So, what else was I going to say? Cafe Du Monde. Yep, that is it. Cafe Du Monde. Where is, since we're on that topic for a second, New Orleans, I'm thinking that might be my favorite port that I've enjoyed just, for one night. Like I've been to New Orleans for Mardi Gras and I enjoyed that experience, but Bourbon Street is a little it's fun for a night or two, but it's not something I'd want to do an entire week. But if I'm just going down there for a day, I thoroughly. So, what are your favorite ports? Because I know we have some big cruisers here. If you're I know a lot of people might go out of a port because of convenience, because they can drive there. I know like Will, for example, he lives close to Galveston, so that's going to make the most sense for him. But if you do go out of different ports, what are your favorite ports to go out of and why? Or if you can pick a port because, you know, you might want to check something out. For example, I'll be going out of Seattle this summer because I'm doing Alaska again for a couple weeks. I haven't been out of the port of Seattle since my wife and I did that honeymoon cruise. And so Seattle offers some different things. So I'm looking forward to going out of Seattle. I mentioned New Orleans. Miami's fun, because you can kind of walk along that South Beach area and see all you know, the craziness that goes on down there and the nice cars and the beach and all that. Um, where else do I really like? I mean, Galveston, I've enjoyed, because I have friends there, like Will and everybody. That seems to be the most convenient port. Tim, I know, is in Florida, so I think you're closest to Port Canaveral, I believe, right? Tim, is that the one you're closest to? Let's see. Let's get you up here, Tim. We've only been to Miami, Tampa, Canaveral, and Mobile. Our favorite is Canaveral. Okay. And I think you said you're about 90 minutes away, Tim, from Port Canaveral. So that's got to be nice. I mean, if I lived that close to a port, I probably wouldn't travel to go anywhere else. I do have the luxury. Anita is a flight attendant. So I have the luxury of flying to a lot of places. Okay, Tim says Tampa's closest. And I know Tampa doesn't have the newest ships all the time. So that might be something to consider. So I'm wanting to say I'm forgetting something. Excursions. Oh, what would be your Super Bowl of excursions? I have one. And I'll share it with you so you could give me like your favorite excursions on the cruises you've been on or excursions that you want to go on. I will give you two. Now, one of these isn't an option on any cruise, here in the States. I know I've seen it in Hawaii as an option. And somebody mentioned Australia, that they'd want to go to Australia. I know it's an option there. But shark cage diving, okay? The adrenaline rush of shark cage diving and, seeing those sharks swim up, right in front of your face, with just some bars separating you and them. That seems like it would be a thrill. And, you always see those videos of something going wrong with something like that. So I don't think that would happen. That wouldn't stop me. But just knowing that something could go wrong gives you that extra rush of adrenaline, right? So that's something that would be really cool to me to experience. And I just hope I wouldn't freak out. And yeah, so shark cage diving would be one thing. And along with that shark thing is to snorkel with whale sharks. I don't know how many of you know what whale sharks are, but they're the largest fish in the world. They're in a different classification. They're not in the same classification as whales. They're considered a fish. So, but they're massive, massive. And you can swim alongside them. All they eat is plankton, but they're these giant, giant fish. And yeah, I mean, and they're harmless. They just kind of, you get snorkelers swimming around them. They just kind of ignore the snorkelers and just keep kind of doing their thing, searching for plankton and stuff in the water. So Tim says, I want to learn to scuba dive. We done a power snorkel. Tim, I don't know if you've asked me about this or if you haven't seen me talk about it, but I got that friend of mine down in Cozumel. So next time that she's a dive master, like she trains people how to be trainers of to teach people how to snorkel. So she's like the best of the best. And I haven't gotten certified myself, but she's taken me scuba diving. And it's one of those things where, she'll only take a couple people at a time. They call it like a try dive. And, she goes through all the hand signals and everything. And then you go in like knee deep water, and, you have to go underwater just, on the shallow side, and learn how to breathe. And then, she makes sure you're comfortable before you go into the deep water. And then, every time we're swimming or whatever, I mean, she'll be in front of us, we'll be following her, but she'll always spin around, and, she's like, are you okay? And I forget all the hand signals you're supposed to use, but, she always makes sure that everything's good. And she'll tell you about checking your oxygen, this and that. So it's she makes you feel comfortable. And so if that's something you want to learn, she could take you on one of those try dives, and then you could check it out in Cozumel. And then, when you get back, say, okay, yeah, let's do this. Yes. And her name is Megan Riley. And I can give you her contact next time you have a cruise booked to Cozumel. Definitely. I will set you up with that. Okay. Well, you know what? Like I said, had intended this show to be short. I just kind of had that idea that I wanted to talk about the Super Bowl of cruising. Like, if you could have a cruise that had everything that you wanted, from food to excursions to itineraries, what would you do? So the scuba diving we got from Tim. Julie says the dolphin excursions, and we've done a dolphin excursion. Anybody else have a thought on that? So I'll tell you what, I'm going to end the show early. I only wanted to do about a half hour anyway, just to kind of check in with people. I know, if it's not your scheduled time, and you haven't really hyped it up too much, it's not going to be a big crowd. But I appreciate everybody who came on today. And yeah, we will see you Tuesday at our normally scheduled time. And everybody, hey, enjoy today. If you're going to watch the game somewhere or have a little Super Bowl party, I hope you have a great time. And Sadie is over here trying to get some Super Bowl treats herself, which I will take care of her as soon as we go off air. So great talking with you. Thanks everybody contributed in chat, and we will see you Tuesday night. Take care, everybody.